A great team of presenters today. We will get insights into a project by Lea, who works for Jelmoli, and Bernhard, who works for Onedot. They will share their insights with us. We cannot take that for granted, so I'm really grateful and appreciate it. Robert is here with me today. He will also host the meeting. He's the CEO and co-founder of AX Semantics. He will later moderate the discussion, the Q&A after today's presentation, where you can ask all the questions you have about today's content, and we will answer your questions later. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about how Jelmoli has implemented automation. Lea, I think you have undergone and launched a big transformation process towards digitization. Your whole business is undergoing this automation, and automated text are just one part of it. That's true. There are many, many things connected to this transformation. You have to keep up to date, and Jelmoli is really trying hard to keep up. So it's a really interesting topic for us and exciting to see how you are working with automated processes in your online shop regarding the product descriptions. So without further ado, maybe Lea, you just want to introduce yourself before you give your presentation. Bernhard will also present himself later or now, and you just get started. One more thing though, I want to start a survey before your presentation. I would like to ask all of our participants how they use or how they create automated texts. Do you do it on your own? Do you work with an external service provider? Are they completely in the hands of an external service provider? Do you not use automated texts at all? So, Lea, the floor is yours, and feel free to share your screen when you're ready. Well, thank you so much for the invitation. Thanks for having me. I'm delighted to represent Jelmoli today on the topic of automated text generation. Of course, it's always interesting to hear from others how they are doing their things. And so I will provide a brief insight into how we are working, of course, also cooperating with Onedot and AX Semantics. And I will tell you how automated text generation has worked or is working for us. Who am I? I'm Lea. I've been working for Jelmoli for 2 years now. I work in the product content team. We are responsible to upload all articles, all items and products into our shop. So we're talking about item data, also image data, etc. So this is what we do. We make sure everything gets online, it looks nicely. And in this context, we also decided to work with automated texts. So this is a brief overview. What are we going to talk about? I will speak about Jelmoli, tell you a little bit about our company. I will provide some insights on what we are going to talk about. I will speak about automated text generation and the challenges connected to it, the preparation and implementation of the whole project, because of course you have to do a lot of things and think of many aspects. You can't just start and everything is automated immediately and is running smoothly. No, it requires a lot of work. We will then have a look at the data editing done by Onedot. Bernhard will tell you more about this. And of course, we will look at the results in the online shop, because I'm sure you are all interested in how things look now for us. So the company Jelmoli, it was founded in 1833 by Johann Peter Jelmoli, and he was a pioneer. He was revolutionizing the world of fashion retail because he introduced fixed prices and also introduced mail order businesses, back then using horse carriages. He was inspired by the Grand Magasins in Paris and made sure that his business was always up to date. And this is how the glass building in downtown Zurich came into being. Today, Jelmoli is the biggest omni-channel warehouse department store in Switzerland. We have 3 sites. You can find us in Zurich in the Bahnhofstrasse, but we're also at the airside and the Circle in Zurich. Of course, we don't only sell fashion, we also have lots of different offers, services, events. We have in-house restaurants. So Jelmoli is much more than a fashion retailer. Now let's have a look at automated text generation. Of course, we had some ideas beforehand, and inspired by Johann Peter Jelmoli, the founder of Jelmoli, we knew that we would always have to adapt our business to the world that is changing around us. And so we wanted to know, okay, in this world where everything is being automated, how can we evolve? So we decided to relaunch our shop, and it went online. This relaunched shop went online a couple of months ago. And so it was just the right moment for us to integrate automated texts. Our previous store was based on dynamic attributes. We used the text by our suppliers, and we wanted to adapt these texts so our customers really have a premium experience, high quality, high value texts. Of course, we also wanted to make sure that Jelmoli could save some time by using automation. Of course, automation is a lot of work in the beginning. The generation is a lot of work, but once you have done that, you can save a lot of time because your employees no longer have to sit there and generate the texts themselves. And of course, automation also allows you to have a steady quality and to have harmonized texts. You no longer have to train your employees in how the text should look, for example. It's obviously also about SEO optimization. That's always a big topic. Your shop has to have a good ranking, for example. And of course, there have been some technological challenges and issues, but that's just daily business. We all know that you don't always get perfect results at the first try. We had our obstacles, we were faced with problems, but that was mainly due to the interfaces for the data transmission, for example. And that often happens when you work with other businesses. That's a big risk that you take when you work with others, because that's where you can lose data. So you have to be aware of this in order to have a smooth implementation. The implementation, of course, took a lot of time. That's what I said. It just doesn't happen overnight. You have to plan ahead. You have testings during the implementation phase. You have to run tests over and over again. So of course, it does cost time. Now, the following slides will focus on our preparation and implementation process. We started the project in April 2020 and finished it in the summer of 2021 in July. As you all know, Jelmoli, Onedot, and AX Semantics work together on this project. Onedot has edited and entered our data in the respective channel, and AX provided support for the automated texts. They provided them. For a smooth implementation, we subdivided the project into our departments. So you can see this here: fashion, beauty, sports, home and living, children, accessories, traveling, and shoes. Every department also has subgroups to create a communication system to make sure that everyone can access all the information. We could enter comments here, add data or documents. So everyone always knew what was happening, could see that here, and we didn't have to write emails all the time where a lot of information is lost. So we always knew where we're at and were able to communicate. So that's really key in such a process to keep everyone up to date. Everyone has to be able to access the information. Everyone has to be able to see, okay, what is missing, has to be able to upload things immediately. So that's really crucial. In order for AX Semantics to be able to generate the texts, we had to enter all the relevant dynamic attributes per department. We had to allocate them and export them in order for AX Semantics to generate these texts, like I said, because some attributes are relevant for several departments. We have a very broad range of products, and that required a lot of work and effort. We had to find out and define which attribute was important for which department. And regarding these attributes, we also realized over time that we were lacking some attributes. We had to add new attributes. So this helped us to generate the perfect texts. I opened up the area for beauty. Here you see dynamic attributes here for eyes, beard, sense, feet. So that's really important for beauty products. The customer has to know for which area the product is. Is that a lotion for the eye area? Is it for the face? Where do I apply this product? So all these dynamic attributes have to describe the product as well as possible in its entirety, so the customer knows what product they're looking at. In addition to that, we defined mandatory attributes. That are the attributes that have to be filled in from us so the text could be generated. So for every department like fashion, beauty, sports, and all the other departments, we have defined the dynamic attributes that are mandatory. So the minimum that has to be entered in order to receive good text, high quality text, because if you don't enter enough information, you will have short text of lower quality. And the more information you provide on an item, on a product, the better and the more detailed the text will be and the more targeted. Now, the next step were product integration types that we had to create. They are based on our categories, but of course, we also realized that we had to go deeper. So what is a product integration type? It's an attribute that provides the term to an article, to a product, because the problem was that the data that we had transmitted to AX Semantics were not detailed, exact enough. It wasn't possible to determine what type of product that was. So we said, okay, for every department, we have this product integration type, and then created the values here. You can see on the right-hand side. So we had to identify whether it's an aftershave, whether it's a lotion, something to put in your bath water, because our data were not detailed enough. We had webshop categories that we could send over to AX Semantics, but they were too general. But we wanted to have detailed texts, so customers would really know what kind of product they're looking at. So we had to look through all our departments, check which products we have in our range of products, and see where we would do deep dives and how we can do them. So that really took a lot of time for us because we had to try out and find out how this works. We hadn't had these types before. We had to define for ourselves what's important to us, what do we need. And of course, we found out that we had to make some additions, for example. We've noticed that over time, we added information, we integrated the types again. So it's really trial and not error, but trial and add. Now, after we finished all the preparations, we weren't done yet. We then had to create test products for all departments. We created them and entered them with all their dynamic attributes in order to be able to test how the texts look, if we like them, if they have the quality that we required, if we need more dynamic attributes, if we had to edit attributes or values. Overall, we created 280 test products for this project. This allowed us to know if what we had done was enough, if the texts really come out the way we want them to, if they have the right quality. This is our webshop mask or template, where we enter all these dynamic attributes, where we enter all the article and item data. The data on top is not so relevant to us. It tells us more about the product, different codes, where we allocate them, for example. But this sort of information is not relevant for our web shop. What we enter here and collect here is the product hierarchy, the webshop categories, the descriptions of the articles, like the name, for example. And this is also where we enter the automated text, the color. But what is really decisive for automated text generation are the dynamic attributes that we create here. So they have to be on spot, they have to be exact. So we really receive the text that we're looking for. So we're only talking about this small section here. This one is important for our text generation. Once the data has been entered, it has to be exported. On the left-hand side, you see our web shop tab. And in the beginning, we imported and exported the data manually. But of course, we wanted to automate this process, and this is what we have done. We wanted to do it overnight because it would be so much work to always import and export all the files. So during the test phase, we did this manually because we wanted to know if everything works all right. But we quickly switched to automation here as well. On the right-hand side, you see what these files look like. All the item data are saved in an XML file or an HTML file. And you find everything in the dynamic attributes, the categories, all the information about the product. So Onedot can then edit and prepare this data, and AX can generate the text. Now, this brings us to the Onedot slide. Bernhard Bicher, you have the floor. Thank you, Lea, and welcome everyone on behalf of Onedot. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Onedot. I would like to speak about the data flow. Where does the data go from where? We receive the data from Jelmoli, from the EAP system, and then we exported it to the Onedot platform. Semantics uses the API it uses the API by semantics. And once the text had been generated, the receiver file could be received and then sent back for the input into the ERP. Now, this is how Jelmoli has used Onedot. We also did a quality assurance check on the Onedot platform. All the attributes that were not entered were not added in the AX system, but they remained in the Onedot platform. We exported XML files from the ERP, and we then checked the mandatory attributes and then added JSON files for the X semantics system. And then we received, after the text generation, one file. We didn't generate one file per department, but rather transported into a XML file that could be transported and automatically read by Jelmoli. Now that's the right-hand side of the Onedot platform. And as Lea has said before, it's really central to have high-quality data by the retailer, by Jelmoli. We have to make sure that AX Semantics has enough information to generate product descriptions that contain a lot of information. So on the other hand, the Onedot platform can also be used to link suppliers and brands to the retailer. So that's the left-hand side. We can add different formats here and then adjust the data on the platform so they can be exported to the ERP. This helps to improve the quality and add all the relevant mandatory fields to the product. When it doesn't find attributes, it uses what the supplier gives us, but this also helps us to find out quickly what is missing, and we can start a dialogue with the supplier, and the supplier can then add or deliver attributes that are needed. Okay, Lea, have I forgotten anything? Would you like to add anything? No, thank you. I think that was great. I think it was also clear, and this also shows the relationship between these three pillars, these three actors that are included here. And that was a great overview. Thank you. One more thing, though. Onedot, of course, you can do that on your own. You can export on your own from the ERP. You can also give the data to AX Semantics, but the benefit in working with Onedot is that we're independent. We use different formats and we can read all the formats. AX can generate the text and you receive them back in a format that you can use. Now that's what I wanted to add. Thank you. So after having received the edited data that Onedot sent to AX Semantics, of course, had to generate rough sentences structures and original text. So they used all the attributes that we provided and then created different options, various options for sentences. You see that on the right-hand side, we have 3 options for every dynamic attribute. Because sometimes, depending on the number of attributes, you have to change the sentence structure, for example. Of course, they also added synonyms in case the term that was used is not relevant or not the right term. And this is also to make sure that not all the texts sound the same and don't use the same language all over again. So we need variation in our online shop because people want high quality texts and they don't want copy paste texts. So we made sure to have a large variety of texts and to be able to pick from a broad range of phrasings. So AX Semantics built these sentence structures and allocated them. On the left-hand side, you can see the original texts. The one at the bottom is quite short because there weren't so many attributes. So it's a short text with fewer details. The text in the middle had enough data, but of course you can see on the top, if there's a lot of information about the text, if you enter a lot of information, the text will be more detailed, it will be longer. Individual elements can then be described in detail and it will sound nicer in the end. So this is just to give you a brief feeling and overview of what happens if you enter just a few attributes, if you enter a sufficient amount or a lot. Now, what's most important are, of course, our results. We talked a lot about dynamic data, departments, etc. But here you can see the real comparison of what it looks like in the end. On the top, you can see the data that we have entered into our ERP. You see all the dynamic attributes that AX can use, that Onedot prepared and edited. And on the bottom, you can see the dynamic attributes that were then included in a text. But the dynamic attributes are also there in bullet points. So the customer receives a high quality text that describes everything in detail, but everyone who just wants to see at a glance, okay, for who is this product, etc., they can also have a look at the bullet points at the bottom. I also added the link to this product. So this will take us to our online shop. You will see how it looks online in our shop. You will see the term. Lea, if you click on a link, I think you have to switch windows so we can see it too.
Jawohl.
Ist das jetzt drauf? Super.
Ja.
Okay, you can see it? Excuse me, apologies. No worries, but sometimes it's hard to know what can I see, what do the others see. Okay. So my entire presentation is based on this product. So you have seen all the information, you have seen how it came into being, what does it look like in the ERP system, what do the data look like, and what does the article look like, the product look like online. So you see the automated generated text here done by AX Semantics. And then you see the individual dynamic attributes as a list to give a brief overview. So this is what it looks like in our shop. This, of course, makes our life so much easier. We save a lot of time. We don't have to edit the data because we work together with Onedot, who then send it to AX. Lea, one suggestion, because this is a German text, but we have international guests. It's a short text, actually. Maybe we can read it out. I could also do it, and our interpreter will try and translate it. Okay, I will read it out and try to pronounce everything correctly because I don't know all the products. The lotion by Radical will provide your eyes with an extra portion of a smooth timeout. It's a beauty product that helps dry skin and adds a lot of hydration. It also has an anti-age effect. It has a revitalizing effect and supports the natural beauty of your skin. The product has also an SPF. Okay, so this is what the product looks like in our shop. Of course, the text in English will sound nicer if you have it in written. but this is what it looks like. And now, as a conclusion, I would say that we invested a lot of time, but it was really worth it. The texts are beautiful. We are very satisfied. The cooperation with Onedot and AX Semantics was very good. I can only recommend this kind of cooperation because this saves so much time for your company. These automated texts, automatically generated texts really save a lot of time, and you can save a lot of time, but just not adding everything manually. And it makes your daily business much easier. It's also easier to operate. Now, this already brings me to the end of my online presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions, please feel free. Don't hesitate. Thank you very much, Lea, for these insight also into the details of the process. We have received a couple of questions in the chat. If anyone would like to ask anything else, please feel free to comment. I have also got one question for you. So you said you invested a lot of time, but it was worth it. How many texts or products have you covered now? Almost all products that we have in our online shop have now received an automated text. The only thing that we haven't included is our food department. So food has not been covered yet. They don't have an automated text, but the rest has been tackled. All products that are online have received such a text. All products that we also have new in our shop. So we're speaking about 10,000 products in our shop currently online. So all of them, minus the food department, have received such texts. Okay, so every time you add new products or products change, they are also covered by the automation. They're automatically live. Exactly, it's an ongoing process. So once we upload the articles, the items, and have entered the information, Onedot accesses this information on a daily basis. They notice when an item has been added. So it's also interesting to know how it works when we change a product. Once we change an attribute, if we say, okay, this product is not made for the eyes, but for the whole face, then Onedot will notice, they access the product, and we receive new texts. So it's an ongoing exchange between Onedot, AX, and Jelmoli. Our texts are always up to date, and they are constantly monitored, and new products also receive completely new texts. Okay. A couple of questions about the technical setup. So I will start with those because they came in first. Philip wants to know why Jelmoli has decided to not use a PIM system. Well, that's a tough one. Good question. I haven't been included in the process in that much depth. We used a PIM system in our old shop, but now in the new situation, we had a lot of meetings. We talked to the people involved in the process now, and I can't really tell you what was the decisive factor in making that decision in the end. I was in the shop process, but I cannot tell you why exactly they decided not to use a PIM system. I don't know, sorry. Bernhard, maybe you would like to say something about this. How does Onedot help? What does it do? Yeah, of course. Or should I maybe go into detail, Lea? Well, if you have more information about it, please feel free. Go into detail. As far as I know, I think the evaluation of the new system landscape of Jelmoli, they had a look at different solutions, and the ERP solution that is the one that is used now has an integrated mini PIM and a service provider. It's not a dedicated PIM, but there was an add-on that Jelmoli found sufficient. So this is why they are not using an additional separate PIM. So this is what I think I remember. Okay, so it has a rudimentary PIM system architecture, and then you have the ERP on top of that. Right. Okay. Which ERP system are you using? Business Central Navision. And this is linked to Onedot. It's connected to it, right? Yes. Onedot can access the files that we provide to them and just access them automatically and then use them and send them back. Okay, I think that were the tech questions. Okay, how much time have you invested in this project? How long did it take, the data maintenance and also creation? Because you said it took a lot of time, but how much was it really? We started in April 2020 and went online in July 2021. So I worked on this project every day. I created the test items, for example. So it really was a lot of time, but it's hard for me to put this into figures. I didn't keep track of the hours because Onedot and Egg Semantics have also invested time. I don't know how much it would be if you accumulate everything, but over this period of time between April 2020 to July 2021, we really did a lot of tests also to make sure we have the quality that we want. So it was really important to us to invest this time now and use the time that we had to receive high quality texts in the end. But I can't tell you how many hours it was, how many days. I would need to calculate, but I don't know it off the top of my head. And now in everyday business, once you have created this, how much time do you still spend on maintenance? Actually, there's not a lot of work for maintenance. The only work we still have are products where we didn't add enough information to begin with, or where obligatory or mandatory attributes haven't been included. So Onedot sends them back to us, and we have received a list and have to work through these again and adjust the products. So that's the high maintenance part that we have. But apart from that, it's all automated. So we just, of course, check the texts. We have a look at our shop to do quality assurance. And if we want adjustments, we can let our partners know, but there's no active maintenance required. It's really an automated process. Okay, thank you. A content-related question. The key features that you have shown, the bullet points, are they also automatically generated by AX? No, everything that you see in our shop is linked to Sitecore, and it's presented in the way that we provide. We don't use Onedot for that. So this is just the automated text generation. And the rest is based on the ERP system and the additional Sitecore that we have. So this is where we manage all that. And do you only use the text in your online shop, or do you also have them on other platforms or channels? No, they're just in the online shop. Okay. And then 2 questions about SEO. Have you seen that things have changed regarding SEO with your automated texts? Of course, we have to talk to our marketing department regarding this question. But when it comes to product content, we don't have the insight into the optimization. But our own texts really make a difference here. So you think has added to your uniqueness? Oh, yes, definitely. Have you noticed any other impacts or effects? Have you received feedback after the text went online? Well, yeah, we do receive feedback. People say that the overall quality of our shop has improved, has a positive effect. Our customers really read the information and the text. They are thankful and appreciate the level of detail and the layout. So yes, we have received a lot of positive feedback. Cool. And one very interesting question, that's a first for me. On your website, have you put any information on there that you are using automated texts? No, I don't think so. Okay. I know that in journalism there is an ongoing debate about this, but in e-commerce, I have never been faced with that question, but it's interesting that someone asked that. Of course, we could look into that. Yeah, it's a good question. But in e-commerce in general, you usually don't put the author, only for blog entries maybe. But so it's a really interesting question. It would be interesting to know, Alexandra, why you wanted to know this, because I don't think this has really been discussed a lot. And now regarding the data process, also to Onedot, Philip wants to know if the data process with the suppliers, well, how did it look? How did you use the supplier data? How did you integrate it into your system? Would you like to reply, Lea, or should I? Well, you can go. We started the cooperation with Jelmoli on automated product texts, product descriptions. That was how we started. And then against this backdrop, we realized that the data quality are really a lever for the text generation. So we have launched a product now with Jelmoli to automate the onboarding. Okay, one question, a general question, I think, if there is a limitation on number of maximum products that can be generated. I would like to answer that. It just depends on how many products you have. We also have products that generate their products several times for different channels, but there's no limitation. So it's unlimited. Lea, you have 10 to 12,000 products, you said, right? That's all you've got. Yes. Is there a reason why you haven't automated the food texts? Well, the dynamic attributes for food are really hard to pin down. You don't really know what to include, how detailed does it have to be, how much in depth. For food products, as of today, we are not ready yet to generate automated texts because we don't have the fitting dynamic attributes yet. So we don't use automated texts for these products yet. But in the future, we would like to also expand the automated texts on the food department. And one more question about the texts. Daniel wants to know why you also use the generated supplier or manufacturer text in addition to the AX texts. Well, many suppliers also want to see their own texts on our website. So this is why we have to add them if our suppliers ask us to. And when it comes to beauty products, for example, with a certain application, with certain ingredients that we cannot include in the dynamic attributes, all the particularities that we cannot include, it is, of course, important to include the supplier, the manufacturer text, because they include this information, and this is why we add them. So it's really an addition to the automated text. You use the text that you get from the suppliers or manufacturers, and then the user has the best of both worlds. Exactly. So the customer really receives the whole range of information and can access all the information they need in order to purchase the article. If there's any information that they're missing, the customer will go to a different website and buy the product on a different website where they get the information. So we want to make sure we cover all the information and really provide everything they want to know about the product they're interested in on our website. Okay, I'm sorry, but we have to, Rhoda, you're looking down but on your paper. Are we done with our questions? And I don't see anything in the chat anymore. Okay, I think we're done. Thank you for your insights, and it was great. Thank you. Well, thank you. Thanks for having us, also from Onedot. Okay, we're done. Bye.